one of the names of Lord Ramachandra, one of the descriptions of Lord Ramachandra, which is one of his names, Maryada Purushottama. Maryada Purushottama. Do you remember? Just capturing your attention here. The meaning of Purushottama? What does Uttama mean? I'm asking you. Uttama means topmost, right? And Purusha means person, right? So Purushottama is one of the names of the Supreme Lord because he's the topmost person. Purushottama. And there's an adjective, Maryada. You were with us yesterday, right? Remember what the meaning of Maryada is? Maryada. How about you? Remember? Maryada Purushottama. It's an adjective. The noun is Purushottama and the adjective is Maryada. It'll come. Maryada. Here we go. He who strictly follows Vedic rules and regulations and never transgresses them. Remember that? That's how you get little kids to pay attention as you ask them questions. They're like so trained up to like get an A in exams that they want to get the right answer. But you'll remember this one. Next time you hear the term, you'll remember what it means. Maryada Purushottama. He who strictly follows Vedic rules and regulations and never transgresses them. So we discussed Lord Ramachandra was an emblem of virtue. He taught virtue, especially by his behavior, or achar, by his words, as well as by his behavior. So sometimes people question, well, wait a minute, what about this and what about that? So we discussed two of them. One of them that we discussed yesterday was he became king, although some people think, wait a minute, didn't he make a promise or receive an instruction from his father that he would not become king, but that Bharata, his brother, would become king? And the answer was no, he never made such a promise. He was instructed to go to, not instructed, but he was, one of the pledges that he had was asked to do was to go to the forest for 14 years, which he did. And when he came back after 14 years, his brother Bharata refused the kingdom. Even while he was gone, he put the shoes, sandals, chappals, wooden shoes, whatever you want to call them, padukas, that's another nice term, on the throne of the king, and Bharata worshipped them as they were the king. Here's a detail. Some of you like details. There's a great acharya in the Sri Sampradaya named Vedanta Deshika who wrote 1,000 poems in glorification of the padukas of Lord Ram. You know about that? Anyone here know enough about? Somebody knows. Vedanta Deshika. So the head of the Sri Sampradaya that comprehensively wrote all of their teachings was Ramayana. Before him was Yamunacharya, and before them was the Alvars. So, in the line of Ramanujacharya, or the same line of disciplic succession, many generations later, was Vedanta Deshika. Deshika means learned person. Learned in Vedanta. Vedanta Deshika. 1,000 verses glorifying the padukas of Lord Ramachandra. Now, in case those of you that like Ramayana or would like to learn more about Ramayana, this is an advertisement. Over the Memorial Day weekend in Gitanagari, we're going to be conducting a retreat for kids. There's going to be lots of kids' activities. There's one for older boys, and there's one for younger children. I don't know which one you're going to fit in. Depends on how tall you stand and how attentive you are. He'll probably fit in the older boys group, but we'll have to see about you. So for, with the cows and canoeing and, things boys like to do. Ever been canoeing? Come on over to Gitanagari and train you up. Girls too. And then the topic is lessons from Ramayana, or reflections on what we learned from Ramayana. There's going to be 3 speakers, and one of the speakers is going to take that topic. He's not going to go over 1,000 verses of Vedanta Deshika, but he's going to summarize. And here's a little hint. The shoes in these poems that he wrote, the shoes, the padukas of Ram, are manifestations of Anantashesh. You know who Anantashesh is? The serpent, Anantashesh, the bed upon which Lord Vishnu reclines, Anantashesh. Not ringing any bells, huh? The serpent with many hoods. When Vishnu reclines on the causal ocean, or the ocean of milk, the Garbhadak ocean, that one, that's Anantashesh. So a manifestation of Anantashesh is Lakshman. Lakshman. Let's go back and see the picture of Lakshman. There he is. Lakshman is a manifestation of Anantashesh, and the shoes or padukas of Ram are manifestations of Lakshman. And Lakshman is the original spiritual master, just like Balaram is the original spiritual master. In Gaur Leela, Lord Nityananda is the original spiritual master. In Ramchandra's Leela, Lakshman is the original spiritual master. So Vedanta Deshika is offering his prayers, 1,000 prayers, no repetitions either, honoring the padukas, or the position of the Guru, representing Lord Ramachandra. It's really, really nice. So that's just one class out of something like 18. Nice topics. You'll learn something about Ramayana if you're interested, plus the cows. That's where I was just before coming here. We had a little sharing. I'm off topic, but that's okay. We'll get back to Ramayana. We just spent a weekend in Gitanagari. It was really nice. There were 90 people that had never had anything to do with Hare Krishna, anything, that came. And by the end, they were attending Mangalarti and dancing in circles. And so there were 2 boys that were assisting their parents, and I asked the younger of the 2 boys, what was the best part? He said, the cows. He said, no, there was a new calf. And I got to hug the new calf. That was the best part. Mode of goodness, right? Mode of goodness. He's a nice boy. Okay, so we discussed the first of the. Wait a minute, Ramchandra became the king, but didn't he promise to not become the king and that Bharata would become the king? No, never made such a promise. And Bharata wouldn't become the king anyways. He put the padukas of Lord Ramachandra on the throne, and for 14 years he dressed in tree bark, ate wild berries and roots, and made a pledge that if on the day after the 14 years expire, you don't come, I'm going to go drown myself in the river Sarayu. Ramchandra came back just in the nick of time, the night before. The 14 years lapsed. The second one was, what was the second one? Who, can you remember? Were you here yesterday? Oh, that's why you don't remember. How about you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, was the action of Rama killing Bali justifiable by dharma?
Yes, because Vali was killed by Ramachandra from behind a tree, behind 7 trees. And there was no dispute between them. He just made a friendship with Sugriva, his brother, and so because of your friendship, you're going to kill me? What kind of religious principle is this? So we went through all of that. There was a long description, not too long, but very detailed. Because Vali had beaten up his brother, chased him out of town, and took his wife, his younger brother's wife, and was cohabiting with his younger brother's wife. In Vedic culture, the younger brother is like the son. And the wife of the son is not someone that you go cohabit with. It's sinful, and it's punishable by death in Vedic culture. So Ram said, I relieved you of that sin. Now you can attain heaven because you're released of that sin. And all other sins. Because you're killed in a righteous way. And why hiding behind a tree? Because in Vedic codes, if a Kshatriya is going to kill an animal, it's permissible. It's not in violation of Vedic codes. And then there were other things. So we heard that one. Then at the end is the young girl here that stood up at the end and said, what about Ram killing Tataka? That was you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Tataka slain. See the screen? Doubt. The scriptures state that a woman should always be protected and never attacked. Tataka was a woman. Was Ram's killing Tataka not a violation of moral conduct? That's her question. But I gave an answer, but now I'm going to read. Because I said, in short, that pay attention. It's your question. I'm reciprocating with you, so you got to pay attention. You're on the hook right now. Vishvamitra Muni knew that Ram would have hesitation. Ram didn't say, wait a minute. He knew that Ram was Maryada Purushottama. He knew that he was a perfectly virtuous person, and he wouldn't do anything against religious principles. So he addressed his questions. But it's that Ramayana is nice to hear, and nice to read and describe. So, Vishvamitra Muni had visited Ayodhya and requested of Dasarath for some service. The king wants to serve the Brahmana. But to speak of Vishvamitra Muni, he's the topmost Brahmana, almost topmost. And he said yes. And then Vishvamitra Muni told me what he wanted. I want your son. Why? To come with me and kill Tataka. What? Oh, I heard about Tataka. I'll go. She's very formidable, this and that and the other thing. And steam was coming out of Vishvamitra Muni's ears, and he said, is that your final decision? Calamity. Don't cross Vishvamitra Muni. Well, and then Vishishta stepped in, the priest Vishishta stepped in and said, don't anger Vishvamitra Muni. He could destroy Tataka, no problem. He's asking because he wants to give credit to your son. and he'll be there. Don't worry. He can create a universe. He created a parallel universe. That's an interesting part about Ramayana. He's very powerful. Don't worry about your son. I assure you. So when the assuring words of Vishishta, Dasarath sent Ram. Lakshman is inseparable from Ram. They went together, and that's where we're going to read. The party had stopped at the edge of a forest, a forest of bare trees, as Vishwamitra spoke. The way ahead was virtually enveloped in darkness. Terrible sounds emanated from the forest. The sage continued telling the brothers about the land. Sometime after Indra had founded opulent cities in this region, there's a history which we're not going to go to. He created an opulent pair of cities. There's a reason, but I won't go into it. There came to that tract of land a Yaksha woman named Tataka, as powerful as 1,000 elephants, and able to assume any form she desired. She was the mother of Maricha. Some of you know enough about Ramayana to know Maricha assumed the form of a deer, and that deer was what was chased and so forth. So the mother of Maricha was Tataka, who now assailed Vishwamitra's hermitage, fearsome and filled with malice towards all beings. Tataka constantly ravaged that land, and thus no one lived there. Although it was once the site of flourishing cities, it was now almost impossible to even approach. You have a drum roll, the trumpets, the tension. Turning towards the princes, Vishwamitra said, "The time has now come for the demise of the evil Tataka. You two princes should follow me to the place where she resides, search her out, and end her life immediately." So now there's instruction number 2. One was from the instructions of such an elevated person as a Muni like Vishwamitra. It must be followed. It's transgression to not follow it. My dear Ram, I want you to destroy the she-demon today, freeing this country from its oppression. As long as this Rakshasi lives, no one even dares to enter this forest. Ram replied with a smile, "Being a woman, O sage, how can Tataka have such power?" So now comes some history. There was once a powerful Yaksha named Suketu, who pleased Lord Brahma by his performance of severe austerities. Being childless, Suketu desired a son, but instead Lord Brahma awarded him with a powerful daughter. As a youth, she was given a boon by Brahma that she would possess the strength of 1,000 elephants. This very beautiful girl was named Tataka, and when she grew up, she was given in marriage to Sunda, son of Jamba. Then once upon a time, Agastya cursed Sunda to die. He cursed Sunda to die because Sunda was attacking him. And Sunda got the wrong end of Agastya's anger. He cursed him, and his body burst into flames. End of Sunda, the husband of Tataka. When Tataka learned of her husband's death, she became infuriated with Agastya, and, along with her son Maricha, she rushed towards the sage Agastya, desiring to kill him. The sage stood his ground. He said to the two advancing yakshas, "As you act so wickedly, may you both become demons. O Tataka, you shall lose your attractive form and instead become an ugly, man-eating Rakshasi. Agastya then vanished from the spot. Because Agastya Rishi used to meditate in this area, Tataka is obsessed with creating disturbances here. Vishwamitra raised his hand and indicated the path ahead of them. Tataka had turned the entire region into a desolate forest by her malevolent presence. She was always angry and would attack anyone who approached the area. Then, Vishwamitra knew that the virtuous Ram was hesitant to attack a woman, but Tataka was no ordinary woman. Vishwamitra said, "My dear Ram, please understand that Tataka is thoroughly wicked. Therefore, cast aside all hesitation at killing a woman." Remember how Indra formerly killed Virovana's daughter. I don't know that history. Indra killed Virovana's daughter, Mantara, different than the mantra in Ramayana, when she desired to ravage the earth. Likewise, Lord Vishnu killed the wife of Brighamuni when she had desired to slay Indra. Now that story I know. In fact, we're going to hear it later on in this evening's presentation. So I'll save it for later. It's a nice story. It's an interesting story. Please then shake off all uneasiness and prepare yourself to fulfill my command. Paragraph. Although the scriptures state that a woman should always be protected and never attacked, in this case, you need not fear any sin. The killing of Tataka is necessary for the good of society. There's a verse that I didn't put here, but it's in this Balakanda section where it specifically says it's the duty of Kshatriyas, Ram was in the line of Manu, and Ikshvaku, who's the son of Vaivasvata Manu, and it's their duty to follow the codes of Manu, and the codes of Manu say, regardless of this or that or the other, when someone is in total violation of religious principles, they're to be killed. This is the duty of a Kshatriya. So he's giving his reasons. One wishing to protect the afflicted must sometimes perform even a seemingly sinful act. This is the duty of kings, O Ram. You should not hesitate. Citing other historical examples of kings and gods who had killed evil women, Vishwamitra urged Ram to quickly kill her. Ram accepted the sage's order and grasped his golden bow. So now some pictures of Tataka. She's not a pretty lady. She was really big. Notice Ramchandra down below. That's how big he was in comparison to Tataka. She's moving trees aside like they're twigs. And she has around her waist some skulls from bodies that she ate, the leftover skulls. And there's another painting of the same. It doesn't show the size of Ramachandra. She's a mean-looking lady. So she was soaring in the air, and Vishwamitra said, kill her, kill her. And so they killed her, Ram and Lakshmi. And she screamed very loud and fell to the ground. Here's another interesting painting. That's Tataka slain. That's number 3. Now number 4, Sita's exile. Now exile isn't really the right word because she wasn't exiled. But sometimes that's how it's described, Sita's exile. And so the doubt is, here's Sita with Ram, they're back in Ayodhya. And she had become pregnant. But there's 6 different explanations. We're going to go through all 6. You boys have good memories, right? Especially when you listen carefully. Right? Good. There's a very detailed explanation found in Padma Purana. In fact, I think I'm going to make it available, not tonight because it's too long, but I'll give you the short version and then we can circulate the document. In Padma Purana, there's a detailed description of the washerman who was the one who was criticizing Lord Ram. So the criticism of Lord Ram was that Sita was in the care and the custody of Ravana for a long time, nearly 1 year. And there's a principle in Vedic culture that if a wife is out of the home of the husband and with another man for one night, then then the husband is not to accept her back. So it's to protect the ladies, the married ladies in society. So that's a Vedic principle. And there were two things that are described. So while Sita was pregnant, while they were in Ayodhya, and he is the king now, one of the things that kings would do is they send like spies or intelligence. That's a different way of saying spy. To go out and about and hear what people were saying. And two things. Some persons were saying, pss, 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 rumors. Why is he letting her come back? Because she was with Ravana. Although, yes, everybody knew, we heard the description, we heard it yesterday, that Sita was put by trial by fire. Sita entered into the fire, and she came out of the fire unscathed, demonstrating to the world that she was in fact pure, which Ram already knew, but now the world knew. Although the world knew she was pure, people were still And then especially there was a washerman. Now the washerman is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana, but his name and his previous life is not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. It's mentioned in Padma Purana. So in this life he's a washerman named Krodhana, and Krodhana had a bad experience. His wife doesn't say what she did, but she was out of the home for a night. And so he would refuse to accept her back in his home, saying, Ramchandra is supposed to be this ideal king, but I can't do what Ramchandra does. I can't accept you back in the home. And he was going around saying it. And so the spies came back and informed Ramachandra, there's a washerman speaking like this. So Ramchandra had to decide what to do. He asked his ministers what to do. And he decided to send Sita in her state of pregnancy to the ashram of Valmiki, where she could deliver the children in the ashram of Valmiki in his care. So Padma Purana gives a description of who the washerman Krodhana was in his previous life. Who he was in his previous life was one of two parrots, a celestial parrot. And the story in Padma Purana goes like this. When Sita was just a young girl, she and some of her girlfriends heard a pair of parrots perched on a branch singing Ramayana. Because Valmiki wrote Ramayana before all the events happened. Correct? He had vision to see what happens before it happened. So, as he was reciting Ramayana, the parrots were on a branch of a tree by Valmiki's ashram, and they learned Ramayana. Later they flew some distance from his ashram to where Janaka's kingdom was, and little girls heard Ramayana, and Sita heard about who she was going to marry when she's just a little girl, and she heard, Prince Ram. I'm going to marry Prince Ram. So she asked the parrots, "Tell me more about Prince Ram." And the male parrot said, "We don't know. We just know what we heard Valmiki say." And she wasn't satisfied. She kept pressing them and pressing them. This is Padma Purana. And, we can't tell you more because we don't know more. And so she became angry. Sita became angry. And she took the male parrot away from the female parrot and put the female parrot in a cage. And the male parrot said, "She's pregnant. You don't do this to her. We're used to flying with freely, and she won't be able to survive living in a cage." Sita said, "I want the answers to my questions." She's staying in the cage. And out of distress, the female parrot, pregnant female parrot, feeling separation from her husband, died right in the cage. And the husband, seeing his wife die in the cage, made a curse and said, "Just as I have been separated from my wife, so you will also be separated from your husband while you're pregnant." And he flew into the Sarayu River and drowned. In his next life, he became the washerman, who spoke in such a way that caused Sita, who had offended his wife, and there's a detail. The detail is, boys, one of the names for a Brahmana is a twice-born Brahmana. Do you have a Sanskrit word for twice-born? Starts with a D. Twice-born. No, I'll keep going. Dvi. Dvi means two. Dvija. You heard that term before? No. Dvija. Dvija. Ja means birth. Like Krishna Janmastami. Ja means birth. And Dvi means twice born. So Brahmanas are born from mother and father. That's first birth. They're born from the spiritual master in the Vedas. That's Dvija. So Brahmanas are called Dvijas. But birds are also Dvijas. Well, they don't get Diksha from Guru, but they're born as an egg, and then after the egg hatches, they're born second time. They're also called Dvija, because that's the meaning. So when a Dvija utters a curse, it's upheld. And when a Brahmana utters a curse, it happens. So don't cross a Brahmana. And don't cross these two parrots either. Now they're celestial parrots. They're not like regular parrots, but they're exceptional celestial parrots. And so, due to the curse of a Dvija, then Sita was separated from Ram while she was pregnant. Padma Purana explanation. That's the first of 6. Here's a second one. Now the second one is particularly favored by Sri Vaishnavas. I know from some Sri Vaishnava Acharya commentaries. Valmiki Ramayana Uttarakhanda, that's the final section of Ramayana. Sita specifically requests Ram to again spend time in the forest with the sages after they had returned to Ayodhya. So she got her wish. In fact, she even specifically, the Sri Vaishnavas say, she desired to have her delivery in the forest among the sages. So it was her request, it wasn't banishment or exile or something like that. That's the second explanation. Here's the third explanation. When this incident happened, there's details and details. You probably know the details. This young girl. Yes, you. Yes, you. No, you don't have to stand up. You don't have to stand up. I'm just asking if you know the details about the Maricha becoming a deer, and the deer was told by Ravana, come near the ashram of Ram and Lakshmana and Sita. Being a woman, she'll become attracted to this really fantastic looking deer, and she'll want to have the deer. What he predicted was correct. And then yes, you remember that?
Yes.
So then Lakshman, what did Lakshman say? Lakshman said, that's not a deer, that's a Rakshasa. No deer looks like that. Anyone seen a deer changing colors and golden and then the rainbow colors? And that's not a deer. There's no such thing. Sita didn't even listen to him. She just ignored him. But it gets worse. Here we go. Oh no. So she then says something that's not Sita. She said, well, even if you can catch him, you know one of my favorite places in Ayodhya is the garden. We can put him in the garden, and then we can enjoy together in the garden with this golden deer. And if he's not a deer, if he's like what Lakshman says, he's a Rakshasa, well then you can kill him, and then we can sit on a deerskin together. Yuck. And then Ram understands she's really attached. So I'll go, but you stay. Lakshman, this is a dangerous forest. You stay and protect her. Don't go anywhere under any circumstance. Stay and protect Sita. And if you need help, Jatayu is nearby. He can help. Ram went for the deer. And he went many miles away chasing the deer for over an hour. And then he realized this isn't a deer. This is a Rakshasa. So he shot the deer. And what did the deer do? We heard this yesterday. You weren't here yesterday, but you know the story. What happened?
He screamed like
What did he scream?
Sita and Lakshman.
Go ahead.
He screamed like he screamed for Sita and Lakshman for help.
In this voice that sounded just like Ramachandra's voice. He was a really good mystic yogi. And it was really loud. It was so loud that so far away Sita heard and Lakshman heard. At the hermitage, Lakshman and Sita had heard the Rakshas's cry. Sita was struck with anxiety. Turning to Lakshman, who stood calmly, she said, "Did you not hear your brother's cry? Surely he has fallen into the hands of the demons, even as a bull might be seized by a group of lions. Oh, Lakshman, go quickly to help Ram. My heart is all but stopping. My breath hardly comes. Please act swiftly." Lakshman didn't move. He remembered Ram's instructions to guard Sita. He did not at all fear for Ram, and considering the cry to have been uttered by a demon, Sita became even more anxious when she saw Lakshman unperturbed. Bewildered by fear, she spoke angrily. So she's making offenses to Lakshman, and that's a no-no. "Oh, son of Sumitra, you are an enemy in the guise of a friend. It seems you are glad to see the plight of your brother. Surely you desire to possess me for yourself. Therefore, you do not rush to Ram's aid. What is the value of protecting me when our leader is in such danger?" Sita shook with fear and sobbed loudly. Lakshman felt pained by her words, and he tried to reassure her. "Your husband cannot be overcome by the gods, or demons assembled in any number. O gentle princess, Ram cannot be killed in a fight by any created being. Of that there is no doubt whatsoever. Be at ease. Ram will soon return, having slain the Rakshasa who assumed the form of a deer and who no doubt uttered that cry. Lakshman was certain that Ram was not in any danger. He could guess that the demon had been killed by Ram and had imitated Ram's voice as he died. After Ram had annihilated the Rakshasa army at Janistan, the Rakshasas must have formulated a plot for revenge. Lakshman tried to explain this to Sita, but she became even more angry. She stood, blazing like fire, her eyes red with fury. Because of her fear for Ram, she was confused. Despite her respect for the virtuous and gentle Lakshman, who had never once looked in her face, he always looked at her feet. Her anxiety for Ram made her rebuke him harshly. "Oh, ignoble and merciless Lakshman! It is obvious that you care nothing for your brother." Arrows. Indeed, you are happy to see him in peril. I can understand that you have been concealing your true nature, posing as Ram's friend. You have all the while been coveting me. Your sinful desire shall never be fulfilled. I shall give up my life, even in your presence. Having become Ram's wife, how could I accept an ordinary wicked man like you? These are very serious aparats. Lakshman was hurt deeply. Sita was as worshipful to him as Ram. He could not even imagine what she was suggesting. His mind raced, confounded by agony. But he could not remain with Sita while she was in this mood. Her words were unbearable. How could she make such accusations? He had to look for Ram. But what would happen to Sita? Fearful and angered by Sita's castigation, Lakshman controlled his mind and replied, "Your words pierce me like a heated steel arrow. I cannot argue with you, since you are a deity to me, O princess. Alas, it seems that the nature of women," okay, sorry about this, ladies, "is to be fickle and given to sentimentality. Although I feel I am right, I must nevertheless follow a dangerous course, driven by your sharp words. I shall depart and search for Ram, but I fear I may not find her. I may not find you here when I return," which is what happened. Sita continued to cry out, saying to Lakshman, "I shall never remain with another man in Ram's absence. I would sooner drown myself in the river, fall from a high precipice, or enter blazing fire." Lakshman was enraged by Sita's insinuations. He tried consoling her, but she would not say anything. He prayed to the forest deities to protect her. Then, bowing to her with folded hands, he left to look for Ram, Sita's words still ringing in his ears. Now, the painting that you see on the screen is not from Valmiki Ramayana, because other Ramayanas say one of the things that Lakshman did was he made a circle called Lakshman Rekha with the tip of his bow and instructed her, "Don't step outside of this circle. You will be protected if you stay inside." And Ravana tricked her and she stepped outside and snatched her. But the main point is, this is, as you see in the upper left corner, reason number 3, why Sita had to be exiled, or why it came to be that she was sent while pregnant, because of her sincerest offense to Lakshman. The Lord can forgive offenses committed toward him, but he does not tolerate when offense is committed to his dearest devotee, even if the offender is the goddess of fortune. And Rupa Goswami's teachings expresses the same. You may see at the top of this. There we go. No, don't go away. There at the top. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Eastern Division, third wave, describing Bhava Bhakti. There's the numbers. There's the Sanskrit, not there. By two types of grave offenses, that is, offense to the dearest devotee, Krishna Preshta, or to Krishna himself, Krishna Preshta Aparadata, even real bhava is destroyed. So she made a very great offense to Lakshman, and so she had to suffer due to that great offense, even the goddess of fortune. And something happened here. I tried to get rid of this bar across the top, and now it's kind of not cooperating. There we go. Okay, now we're moving on. There's 6. We've covered so far 3. What was the first one we discussed? Padma Purana story, right? Yeah. What was the next one? Sita actually wanted to go to the forest, so it wasn't a punishment, it was her request. And the third one was this offense that she made to Lakshman. Very serious. Very serious. Here's the fourth one. We heard about this earlier when Vishvamitra Muni was referring to Lord Vishnu killing a woman, and the woman happened to be Kyati, who was the wife of Bhrigu, and Kyati was the mother, she's a Brahmani, she was the mother of Shukracharya. Who's Shukracharya? Yes, he's the chief priest of the demons. So on one occasion, the demigods and the demons had a big battle, and the demigods were winning. So the demons went to take shelter of Bhrigu and Kyati. So because they're brahmanas, they're ready to give shelter to anyone, doesn't matter. And so the demons took shelter, and they were giving protection. The demigods came to know where they were hiding out, and Bhrigu and Kyati's ashram. So they came to attack. In a big battle. Big battle. And in the course of the big battle, the demigods were winning. And so Kyati decided she was going to kill Indra. She was going to cut off his head. And Indra called for Vishnu, help. Vishnu came before she was able to cut off Indra's head. With his Sudarshan chakra, he cut off her head. That was the reference made by Vishwamitra, where even Lord Vishnu killed a woman. This, extreme circumstances. So Bhrigu said to Vishnu, just as I became separated from my wife, Vishnu will also be separated from his wife at some point. And so it was. Number 5 of 6. This is one of the most outstanding ones, that's common sense and a position of virtue. Here's, there's a pan scale. On one side is his own desire and his own family and my own. And over there is his duty as a king to his citizens. And he placed the well-being and peacefulness of his citizens above his own happiness. Because there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, and it's true, Yad Yadacharachi Shreshtas. You know the meaning? You know the meaning? Yad Yadacharachi Shreshtas Tat Tat Eve Tarorjana. What's the meaning? You're not sure. You're looking like you're not sure. Let me help you. Shrestha, you know the meaning of Shrestha is the best. Kind of like Uttama, but Shrestha. It's one of Arjuna's meanings. He's the best of the Vaishnavas. Bharata Shrestha. the best of the Bharatas. So, Shadyat Acharati Shreshtas, what achar means behavior or conduct, right? Whatever a great person does, Tatadevi Taroja, the whole world follows. So, if I, as a king, have done something that creates a disturbance for those who are my dependents, I don't just like brush them off, or too bad for them, because I'm right and they're small fries. The leader, a good leader, the Shrestha person, is very conscious of setting a standard. So his standard is, I'll sacrifice my own happiness for the well-being of my citizens, of those who I'm caring for, like a father will do for his family, or anyone will do for those they care about. So he put the interest of his citizens before his own. That's one, or the fifth explanation. And some of you know who this picture is. This is a painting of who? Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya. How do we know it's Madhvacharya? He's big, and he has two fingers up in the air. Well, the two fingers, you know what the two fingers mean? He taught Dvaita. Dvaitavad. Dvaitavad, two fingers. There's the supreme, it's a long story, I won't go into the long story. He taught dualism. Here, there's Pancha, Veda. There's a difference between the living entity and God. There's a difference between living entity and living entity. There's a difference between living entity and material nature. There are differences between one variety of material nature and another variety of material nature. And there's a difference between material nature and God. Panchabheda. So when you see paintings of Madhvacharya, generally speaking, he's got these two fingers up in the air because that's his thesis or his primary teaching. So one of the things that Madhvacharya did was he wrote a commentary on Mahabharata. And there's the title of the commentary on Mahabharata. Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya. Very celebrated, authoritative book. There are sections in Mahabharata where different persons are giving histories from Ramayana within Mahabharata, because Ramayana occurred, Ram's pastimes occurred before Mahabharata was narrated. So in those sections of Ramayana, those sections of Mahabharata, which this book is a commentary on, he delves into a little bit details about Ramayana. And here's what he writes. You're a detailed little girl, so I'm looking at you so that you'll pay attention. Because it's a detail and you like details. Here we go. There was a demon who received a benediction. The benediction was that for as long as Lakshmi and Narayan are united, I cannot die. He was thinking they're always united, and so I'll not die. And with that understanding, he requested that benediction. He got the benediction. And Lord Ramachandra knew that benediction. He's not going to violate the benediction of a Brahmana. So what did he do? He arranged for his separation. And the plan was, when he was separated from Sita, Indra killed that demon. And after the demon was killed, Ram had a plan that he would call her back. But that's not exactly what happened. You got it? That's reason number 6. There's a couple more, but they're less dramatic. And these are pretty dramatic. Madhvacharya is very authoritative. He's the head of our sampradaya. So now the last is Sita's entering the earth. So what happened was Sita came back eventually after 12 years. But when she came back, she entered into the earth. So here's the history. Sita went to the... Lakshman, bless his heart, was given the service to take Sita to Valmiki's ashram and leave her there. How hard was that? Very, very difficult. But he was an order of Ram, and so he did it. He cried. But he did it. And she was left with Valmiki. And when Sita understood, she was smashed. But she accepted because it was the desire of Lord Ram. So later on, there's some detail. There were 4 brothers. You know the names of the 4 brothers? Ram, Lakshman, Bharata, Shatrughna. So Shatrughna was given the assignment to go to Mathura, who at that time was Madhupuri, and deal with one demon whose name was, starts with an L, Lavanasura. Remember? Lavanasura. So on the way to Lavanasura's kingdom, he passed through Valmiki's ashram. And Sita gave birth at that time. And he observed the rituals with Valmiki, and then when he came back, he also visited the ashram of Valmiki and saw the boys were there growing up. So they took their birth in Valmiki's ashram, and Valmiki gave them details and details and details and details and details of structures, not only in Ramayana, but all the scriptures, and he was their guru. And what a wonderful guru, and what a pair of wonderful students. They're twins. And in course of time, he also taught them archery. So that, because they're going to be little Kshatriya boys, so they learned everything from Valmiki. What a wonderful teacher. I'd like to go to his Gurukul. And in course of time, he gave them Diksha, and he also taught them how to recite Ramayana. They've got these nice musical instruments, and he's teaching them how to play the music. So there's a certain Anushtup meter, and he taught them how to sing it in different melodies, but the same meter, and it was very, very beautifully done. And after some time, there was a suggestion from Sumitra, who was the kind of assistant to the king, why don't you invite Valmiki to come and have Valmiki narrate Ramayana for the pleasure of all the citizens. So here's a very old painting, and there are the 2 boys seated here, Lava and Kush, and there's Ram seated hearing, and there's Vashishta, the priest of the royal family, and there's Valmiki by his side, and there's so many citizens having a big festival. And at this point in time, Ram didn't even know that they were his sons, because he hadn't seen them for 12 years. So he asked, who are these boys? And Valmiki said, they're your sons. And his heart melted. And he intensely desired that Sita should be brought here too. Because she was not in Ayodhya, she was sent to Valmiki's ashram. But he now requested she should come, and Lord Brahma should announce before all the citizens her purity. So Sita came. But when Sita came, she felt terrible. She felt even Lord Brahma makes some proclamation from the sky. People will still talk. Psst, 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 psst. And not a blemish should go to Lord Ram. And so she offered a prayer to the earth. I appeared from the earth, please accept me back. Earth opened up, and there's Bhumi with Sita leaning against her, and she entered there. There's Ananta Shesh, look at that. Remember Ananta Shesh? There is. So I'm going to read a little bit, and then this is it for this evening. In the sky the gods assembled, and Ram took his place in the arena. Valmiki then made his way into the center of the arena, followed by Sita. She was dressed in an ochre-colored sari, and her golden earrings glinted in the sunshine as she walked with her head down. Although she thought only of Ram within her heart, out of fear, she did not look up at him. She folded her palms in respect and stood silently before her husband. Seeing the queen with downcast expression, the assembly was agitated and gave out various cries. Some were sorrowful, some praised Ram, and still others praised Sita. When everyone finally settled down, Valmiki began to speak. O son of Dasarath, out of fear of criticism, this pious Sita of righteous conduct was left by you near my hermitage. She will now testify to you as to her unfailing purity. I too can swear this, that this chaste lady is sinless. I do not remember ever having spoken an untruth. O Ram, know for sure that Sita is entirely free from wicked conduct of any kind. Know also that the two boys who recited the Ramayana are certainly both your sons. I have practiced penance for many thousands of years, and if my words are false, then may I not obtain the fruit of that asceticism. Knowing that Sita was innocent, I accepted her into my ashram. She is devoted to you only, O Raghava, and will never sway from you under any circumstances. Ram smiled. It is exactly as you say, O Brahman. I also know Sita to be without blame. This was previously established even by the gods, and thus did I allow her to enter my house.
Other side, the other side.
Okay. Focus, everybody. Only due to public censure did I send her away again, even though I never doubted her innocence. Please forgive me. I hereby proclaim my love for the chaste Sita. I also accept these two boys, Love and Kush, as my sons. Let her now take oath before this assembly and establish her purity once and for all. So she's looking down. Slowly Sita looked up at her husband, who gazed at her with affection. She glanced around the assembly. As well as many kings and rishis, she saw all classes of celestials standing there. Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Sajas, Vishwadevas, Nagas, and numerous others. Above the assembly, on his swan carrier, was Brahma, the universal creator, surrounded by all the principal gods. Everyone waited silently for Sita to speak. Here it goes. With her hands folded in front of her face, she looked down again, and in a tremulous voice, if I have never even thought about anyone other than Ram, then let the earth goddess grant me shelter. As I worship only Ram in my mind, speech, and action, so may the earth give me space. If I have truthfully said that I know only Ram as my Lord, let the earth receive me now. Sita felt that she had become a problem for Ram. Despite having been declared pure, even by ever-truthful gods, still the doubts remained. It seemed that as long as she was present, there would be those who would find fault with Ram. She would have given up her life the very day she had been sent away to the forest if she had not been pregnant with Ram's sons. Now the boys were old enough to join their father in the city. It was time for her to depart. Ram's reputation could not be sullied by even the slightest doubt, and only her departure could ensure that. As Sita finished speaking, the ground next to her opened up, and a celestial throne rose up. That brilliant, jeweled seat was borne on the heads of four great Naga snakes. Sitting on it was Bhumi, the earth goddess. Glowing with her divine effulgence, she rose up and held out her hand to Sita with gentle words of welcome. Sita got onto that throne and sat next to Bhumi. Suddenly, a great shower of fragrant flowers fell from the sky and covered Sita. The gods loudly praised Sita, and as the kings and rishis looked on in amazement, the throne slowly re-entered the earth. Everyone glorified Sita for her incomparable devotion and chastity to Ram. Ram himself cried out as Sita disappeared into the earth, which again closed as the throne entered within. He leaned on the side of his seat and wept in grief. Wringing his hands in despair, he said, "Upon seeing Sita enter the earth, I am afflicted with a sorrow greater than I have ever known before. How can I tolerate it? How shall I allow Sita to be taken by the earth? When she was stolen by Ravana, I crossed the vast ocean on foot to recover her. I shall again bring her back, or go with her for good." Ram looked down at the earth. Becoming angry, he said, "O goddess, you should return Sita to me, or you will feel my wrath. Sita was formerly brought out from your womb." For those who don't know the story, that's how Sita appeared. Her father, Janak, was plowing a field, which was part of the procedure for a king when a yagi was going to be performed. And as the plow was moving along the field, this beautiful golden girl appeared from the earth. And he accepted this as the divine arrangement brought to his wife. Let us accept this daughter. This girl is our own daughter. And then later there was a second daughter that was born from them, and her name is Urmila. Sisters. Ram looked down at the earth, becoming angry. He said, "O goddess, you should return Sita to me, or you will feel my wrath. Sita was formerly brought out from your womb, thus you are my mother-in-law." Oh. "Therefore be kind to me and return Sita, or else grant space to me also. I will stay with Sita wherever she has gone, whether it be in heaven or the nether regions, O earth goddess. Hear my words." So that's Ramayana. So this is going back to the sixth reason that's mentioned by Madhvacharya, that it was an arrangement that Ram had so that this demon that had this Brahman's benediction that he wouldn't die as long as Lakshmi and Narayan were together. So they were separated. So Indra could kill the demon, and then Sita could be brought back, but something else happened. Very interesting. A little involved narration. Some very beautiful painting. Look, there's a beautiful painting in the Delhi temple. I'm going to ask somebody from the Delhi temple. Does anybody here know somebody in the Delhi temple? Okay, I'll find somebody from the Delhi temple to send. They have a very large painting, ISKCON painting, and it shows goddess Bhumi and Sita seated on a beautiful throne, and they're entering back into the earth. It's a very, very beautiful painting. So let's see if there's some discussion. So the topic, what's the name? One of the names of Lord Ramachandra is the Purushottama. What's the adjective? Starts with an M.
Oh, I know the definition.
No, what's not? No, that's the word. The Sanskrit word.
Maryada Purushottama.
Maryada Purushottama. Did you come? He found out. Maryada Purushottama. Okay. So he's infallible, and he follows all religious scriptures and never deviates from them, because he's setting the ideal standard. Maryada Purushottama. Any discussion? Yes.
So I've never read Ramayana, and I gotta know. Did Ram
Enter Earth? No. The way he left the world, it's very dramatic. But he at a certain point in time he stayed ruling as king. He had a golden murti of Sita made that would sit by his side always as he ruled. But at a certain point of time, he decided I'm leaving, and he got up, and the whole of Ayodhya followed behind him, and he entered into the Sarayu River. They gave an instruction to Hanuman, you stay behind. So he didn't go to the earth, he went into the Sarayu River. When we visit, sometime maybe, you'll visit Ayodhya. And we visited Ayodhya, we went to the very place where it said, this is the place where he entered. Just submersed himself in the Sarayu River, and that was it. Pastimes ended. Anyone else? How about our young girl over here? You're fine.
So like after, so then like the Bhagavatam states like in the, like it states like there will be after like the Kali Yuga ends, there's gonna be like another like last king like of Ayodhya. So then there's gonna be like more pastimes in Ayodhya.
Yeah. Ayodhya, just like Vrindavan is the eternal abode of Krishna. Sometimes his pastimes are manifest, sometimes they're withdrawn, not manifest. Ayodhya is same. It's a spiritual place. And the pastimes are not, to our visual experience, going on. But in the cycles of time, they'll again become manifest. Want to hear something nice? Sure. Oh, she's got a question, but you have to wait. This over here. In the very early parts of Ramayana, there's a description where Lord Brahma received the Mula Ramayana. Mula means root, right? Mula. The Mula Ramayana is 1 billion, not million, not 100,000, not million, billion, not even 100 million, billion verses. That's big. And Brahma, taught it all to Narada. Narada gave a synopsis of just 24 verses out of the original Mula Ramayana, and instructed Valmiki to compile Ramayana. There's 24,000 verses in Ramayana out of 1 billion. But all of this happened even before Valmiki wrote it, and Valmiki wrote it before it happened. In other words, they're eternal pastimes. So back to your question, will there be a time? And the answer is yes. In fact, they're eternal pastimes. And they're really big. Okay? Yes?
Why did Ram tell Hanuman
he told Hanuman to stay back so that there we go. Yeah, so that Hanuman could go on for as long as this universe exists and sing the glories of Ram. Why? So people could benefit from hearing the glories of Ram.
Where is Hanuman now?
Right now, I thought you'd want to know. And listen, in Canto, you can look it up later, Canto 5, Chapter 19 of Srimad Bhagavatam, he's in Kim Purusha Varsha. And he's with others who are singing and singing and singing and singing the glories of Lord Ramachandra. Till the end of, according to what Sita said to him, until as long as the sun shines and the moon shines. That's as long as there's the universe. That's how long he's going to be there. Kim Purusha Varsha. Now where's Kim Purusha Varsha? That's your next question. Okay, I'll tell you. Have you seen, you are you the one that said you saw that poster of the cosmic manifestation, and above it is yesterday at the very beginning of class I spoke this verse from Brahma Samhita.
No.
Devi Dam Mahesh Dam Haridam Golokadam. Were you here for that?
No.
You weren't here for that. You missed it. Okay. So in the picture of Vedic cosmology, in each of the many, how many universes? Too many to count. There's the finite number, but too many to count. How many waves are there in a river? A lot of waves in a river. So too many to count. That many universes, in each universe, the middle section of each universe is called Bhu. Yes, next. But let me finish. Bhu Mandala. What is, you know what a mandala is?
No.
No. I'll teach you. Just hang out, I'll teach you lots of things. Mandala is a, how do you say it simply? It's a geometric pattern that's balanced on all sides. It's used, in part it's used for meditation. Different types of meditation. Here's a nice one. You know, the name Shri is the goddess of fortune, Shri. Shri means the goddess of fortune, like Lakshmi.
Yes.
The Shri. So there's a Shri Yantra, or Shri Mandala. And you know how you can make one? Here's how you can make one. The sound Om, directed towards a vibrating surface with some powder, and it forms a Shri Yantra. Because sound has form. So the form is the mandala. And the earthly realm, 14 planetary systems, you've heard that one before, right? 7 upper, 7 lower. There's 7 lower planets. It's not hell, it's 7 lower planets. And there's 7 upper planets. Planetary systems, not just planets. So the middle, the one just above the middle is us. Bhu. Bhu means earth, right? Bhu means earth, like Bhumi. You heard about Bhumi? She came out of there she is. There's Bhumi. Bhu means earth. So, Bhu Mandala, it's a geometric pattern that has a series of islands and oceans. And the central island, we're getting down to where Hanuman is right now. There's the central island is called Jambu Dweep. Central island is called Jambu. Dweep means island. Jambu Dweep. And in the middle of Jambu Dweep, there's this really big mountain called Sumeru, Golden Mountain. You've heard of that place. Golden Mountain, Sumer, in the middle of Jambudweep. And surrounding that Golden Mountain, there's 9 tracts of land. One of those tracts of land is Purushottama. That's where Hanuman is. It's in between 2 mountain ranges, and that's where he is today, singing. And it's
How
so
long will he sing?
he'll stay there till as long as the universe is running. And then where's he going to go? He's going to go to the eternal abode of Lord Ramachandra and continue doing the same thing, singing the praises of Ram, the glories of Ram, the pastimes of Ram. And if you want to read, you can read some of them. They're right in Canto 5, Chapter 19. It's right there. You can read it. I invite you. You don't have to, but... And then you can find out some more about Purushottama. It's right in that section.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
My friend there, her name is also Boomy.
That's your name? Boomy. Oh. So you have you're named after her, not she's named after you. Do you have a question?
My first question is,
You have more than one. Good.
so could we see Hanuman if we go there?
You want to meet him? Well, you got to be a Hanuman Bhakta. And if you become a Hanuman Bhakta, then maybe you can meet him. Because he doesn't have to just stay in Purushottama. He can, like that, he can come before you with like a flash. You don't have to jump, he has mystic powers. But, no, it's not so likely. There's you and me, we're little people, but you can be devoted to him, and if you're devoted to him, you're devoted to Ram. Because he's devoted to Ram. And there are devotees, there is ISKCON devotees that are very devoted to Hanuman. Not just like, some people over there that don't know who God is. They know who God is, and they're very devoted to Hanuman and Lord Ram. You should come to this Gitanagari retreat. You're going to learn a lot of stuff about Ramachandra. And some stuff about Hanuman, because you learn about Ramachandra, you learn about Hanuman. You learn about Hanuman, you learn about Ramachandra. What's your second question?
So, what happened after Rama met in this Sarai river? What happened?
What happens after he does what?
He goes into the Sarai river. What happens?
He went to his eternal abode.
What happened to Ayodhya?
His pastimes ended. The pastimes closed. The visible part of his pastimes closed. But his pastimes are eternal. It's like what happened after Krishna left. He entered into his Nitya Lila, his eternal, non-manifest pastimes that are eternally going on in Vrindavan. Okay. You have something. This is what I get for asking our younger generation people questions. They got lots of questions. It's good. Thank you.
So basically, if you want to meet Hanuman, is it which particular place is it?
Purushottama. I already said it. She asked the same question. And where's Purushottama? Purushottama is in the central island, Jambudweep. It's one of the Varshas or tracts of land in Jambudweep. Now, you're not going to get into an airplane and go visit Purushottama. You got to become spiritually qualified. Sorry, Charlie. But if you really want, you can become spiritually qualified, and he'll have a welcome mat for you.
You basically got more pastimes. You can.
Look at it. There's 1 billion verses. Just hang out with Hanuman. You'll hear so much. Yes, you have something.
So Mark, you said that the pastimes keep on going, the eternal pastimes.
They're
So-
eternal.
So are the pastimes like the same that happen, or is it like
Oh, they're always fresh.
they're always?
Always fresh. The way the Prabhupada explains it is there's a spool. This is my understanding. He was speaking at a time when, like, movies were series of frames and another frame and another frame, and they made moving pictures. That's what they called it, and put it on a spool. And they would run it through the projector, and you see moving pictures. That's what they called it, cinema, moving pictures. So Prabhupada used that metaphor in saying the Lord's pastimes are like a spool. And it's not entirely a rerun, because moving pictures, it's only the same number of picture frames. It doesn't change. But when the Supreme Lord performs pastimes, there's a thread or a theme, but then there's variety on the theme. And he explained like this, that variety is the mother of enjoyment. So the Supreme Lord doesn't do the same thing, the same way, all the time, but there's a theme, and the theme is resting on rasa, or loving exchange with him. The theme is resting on loving exchanges with his devotees. So, in loving exchanges, there's variety. It's not a rerun. It's variety. So, but there's a theme of loving exchange that follows a certain thread, or his word was spool, but then there's variety. So both in the Nitya Lila, the non-visible, Aprakat Lila, non-visible pastimes, and the visible pastimes. How's that? You want to hear something nice? You sure?
Yeah.
You know who Kaliya is, right? Krishna's pastime with the serpent Kaliya? Well, there's different varieties of Krishna's pastimes with Kaliya. Sometimes Krishna puts a thread through his nostrils and goes horseback riding with Kaliya. And sometimes Kaliya joins Krishna in the spiritual world, and like Garuda becomes the carrier of Vishnu, Kaliya becomes the carrier of Krishna to carry him from place to place. He's a servant. So where do I find this? This is in Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Brihat Bhagavatamrita. You've heard of that book? It's a BBT publication, and it's right in Brihat Bhagavatamrita. So you know who Keshi is, right? The horse? Krishna sometimes doesn't, put his fist in Keshi's mouth, and his fist gets real big and real hot, and he kills Keshi. Sometimes he just tames him. He keeps him in a corral, and the cowherd boys can go for horseback rides sometimes. It's right in Brihat Bhagavatamrita. So, there's variety. It's not always the same thing, not a rerun. But there's moods of loving exchange, that's the theme, that's the thread that runs through. And there's variety of loving exchanges for his pleasure and the pleasure of his devotees. So keep your seatbelt fastened, and you're in for a big adventure. A ride into the spiritual world where it's the eternal pastimes that are variegated. And that's our Krishna. And Ramchandra too. Anybody back here? We have our younger generation people enthusiastic. Let's see about the older generation people. Yes.
Maharaj, I need some clarification. The four expanses which they appeared as Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrugna, are they quadruple expanses, or the different pastimes of Lord Ram in different yuga cycle?
I don't. So I'm a little confused by your question because they are the expansions of the quadruple forms Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha eternally. But those four have their place in the spiritual world, as does Ramchandra, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrughna. So they're expansions. And who can say who's the expansion of whom? So the four, the Chaturvyuha, in the original Chaturvyuha, they're expansions of them in Ayodhya, in the Vaikuntha realm or Haridam realm. Now, ready for a boomerang? Here's a boomerang. See if you can catch it. There are other acharyas. There are other acharyas that say they're the symbols of Narayana.
Yeah.
And the answer that Prabhupada gives, acknowledging that, he says they're different days of Brahma, or these different yuga cycles, different kalpas. So both, it's not that if it's this, it can't be that. If it's that, it can't be this. Sometimes this and sometimes that. Goes back to your question. There's variety. That's Prabhupada's answer. Sometimes this, sometimes that. And I believe Jiva Goswami says the same thing in his Sandarbhas, Bhagavad Sandarbha specifically. And Rupa Goswami in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita says the same thing. Different pastimes of different appearances of Lord Ramachandra, sometimes this, sometimes that. Anyone else? Okay. I think we're done. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai.
Maharaj ki jai.